Russian commanders launched what looked like their largest coordinated drone strike yet. Hundreds of unmanned aircraft unleashed in a single sweeping salvo, aimed at breaking through Ukraine's front line and wiping out the covert UAV nests that had been striking Russian positions. From the Ukrainian side, commanders watched the sky fill with dozens of incoming drones and responded with F-16 that streaked into the fight, locked on to a Russian Lancet at high speed, and fired a missile that slammed the drone in mid-air, detonating it in a flash. Ground footage from a local resident captured the missile launch and the perfect hit, a short, decisive moment that proved Ukraine could answer even the largest drone barrages with air power. At the same time, the Ukrainians deployed long-range FPV strike drones in waves. Sometimes from overhead and sometimes from concealed positions on the ground, the strikes stacking one after another. Until wave after wave of enemy UAVs failed to reach the defensive line. Not far from those air clashes, a Russian T-72 crawled through the tree line, moving slow and firing toward Ukrainian positions as it tried to push the line. A javelin was launched and missed. Then another javelin locked and struck. The first hit failed to detonate the tank's ammo, leaving the vehicle technically salvageable, and then a longer-range Ukrainian missile found the mark and chain of hits that ended in a massive explosion and the loss of the vehicle. After that, a small group of Russian soldiers attempted to move up on 3 motorcycles, but immediately ran into a brutal FPV drone ambush. The drones descended one by one, striking the bikers until one was killed instantly. And the others dismounted and sprinted for cover. They managed to shoot down one incoming drone, and within minutes the remaining soldiers were hit and went down, another vivid example of how cheap, small drones produce catastrophic results well beyond their price tag. Elsewhere on the front, a Ukrainian T-64 under heavy artillery and rocket fire nevertheless found a shooting lane and fired a round that struck a Russian T-72. The T-72 stored rounds cooked off and detonated, producing a massive blast. Yet the Ukrainian tank kept moving, taking hits, returning fire, and destroying multiple targets while conducting a fighting withdrawal, showing how armored units can still deliver blows even while under intense area saturation fire. Near a tree line, a BM-21 Grad multiple rocket launcher, 42 122mm system that can blanket hectares in seconds, had completed a firing mission and parked, waiting for resupply and reload trucks. Ukrainian recon drones had tracked its movement from the moment it shot off its rockets, and once the launcher stopped, an FPV loitering munition accelerated toward the vehicle and struck, igniting the onboard rockets and triggering a secondary catastrophic explosion that obliterated the launcher. In another action, a Ukrainian T-72 appeared suddenly behind a group of Russian infantry who were lining up for an assault. The tank opened fire and caught the troops with no chance to prepare. And the Russians responded by rushing forward a 2S-3 Acacia self-propelled howitzer to suppress and eliminate the threat. The Acacia rolled to the firing point and began firing. But a Ukrainian FPV operator worked quick, zeroed in on the gun crew and launched a strike while the crew were still exposed. The impact was huge. The vehicle burned, the crew dispersed, and later footage confirmed the Acacia was destroyed. Not satisfied, the Russians tried another move, sending a BMP full of infantry into more open terrain. An FPV struck the BMP's rear track, immobilizing it, and within seconds soldiers spilled out and tried to sprint for cover. But the drone teams kept pressuring the vehicle and its dismounts, dropping munitions until the BMP was a wreck. And many of the soldiers who'd abandoned it were picked off or trapped by subsequent strikes. Repeatedly across this sector, the same pattern plays out. Launcher detects, artillery pins, drones lock, explosive small arms and guided munitions finish. In close quarters, infantry tries buildings, trenches, and tree lines, but persistent thermal imaging, local human intel, and drone persistence allow operators to find hiding soldiers even at night. One man crawled into a trench and thought himself safe until a drone operator spotted him and the trench was blown apart, the blast and shrapnel leaving no hiding place reliable for long. The psychological weight of FPV and kamikaze drones shows as much as their blast radius, and even when they don't kill outright, they expose caches, supply trucks, and command nodes for follow-up artillery to hold ground. Tactically, the Russians lost multiple armored vehicles and rocket systems in these engagements. T-72s and T-80s and older support vehicles went up in flames. Grads were turned into smoking hulks, and artillery elements found themselves vulnerable once they fired and became fixed points on the map. Strategically, the shift is clear. Inexpensive, easily produced drones are neutralizing expensive platforms that once defined firepower, and the battlefield now favors those with surveillance, rapid response strike capabilities, and a tight sensor-to-shooter link that drones exploit. Technology and numbers matter. FPV drones cost a fraction of what a Grad or a tank costs, but their speed, small size, and low radar cross-section make them hard to stop without dedicated short-range air defenses or very tight operational discipline. A single Grad carries 40 rockets and can devastate trenches in under 20 seconds, but the loss of one system due to a drone strike deprives an entire brigade of its saturation capability and forces commanders to either move batteries more often or risk mass casualties. By contrast, a kamikaze drone can be built and launched locally, changing logistics calculus and reducing the margin for error in massed fires doctrines. During one of the missions in the south, a Ukrainian operator was killed, and his team had to pull back under heavy Russian fire. They couldn't take his body with them at the time, but they made it clear. Bringing him home was now the priority. Even with the area still under fire, a small team went back and recovered him from right under the enemy's nose. They said, "We don't leave our own behind." In the Krasnoarmeysk area, Russian forces suffered heavy losses. Footage shows their destroyed vehicles and burning armor scattered along the road to Dmitrov. More than 25 pieces of equipment wiped out in a short stretch.